Good morning and welcome to Conversations with Anasa. We're really happy to be with you. So let's start with meditation. So first thing, take a deep breath in down below your belly button. And as you begin to focus your attention there, see if you can bring all of your attention there, as though all the energy that's normally between your ears moves down through a funnel into the space below your belly button. And take a few breaths to allow that to happen. And use your breath to pull your attention out of your head and into your belly. Energy follows attention. And you'll notice you begin to have a different experience. You get quiet. It's sort of like being at the bottom of the ocean, and whatever's happening on the waves doesn't matter anymore because your attention is elsewhere. So holding your attention there, now begin to, with your breath focused below your belly button, expand your inhale. It doesn't mean that you have to try to breathe slower. Just make your inhale a little bit longer. When you're ready, drop your attention down to the tip of your tailbone. And in the same way, take your breath all the way there and begin to explore that space in between the breaths as you lengthen your inhale. Holding your energy here is what it actually means to be present and grounded. From here, we can feel our feet and connect to the earth. And you might even feel yourself just fall into a silence, a deep stillness. When you're ready, allow your attention to come up to your solar plexus, just below your rib cage. And see if you can relax your diaphragm. It's a muscle at the bottom of our lungs. That pulls air in by creating a vacuum. And hold your attention as before in the space just below your rib cage. And if you feel some agitation, it's just disharmony trying to release. So you can run white light from above your head through this energy center and just let go. Ask to let go of everything that's not yours. This is the simplest thing to do when we run into any agitation in our system. First, let go of anything that's not ours. And it's simple, just pull in white light from above. But holding your attention still in the space just below your rib cage. And you might just feel things leaving. That's a good thing. And as you're present here in your solar plexus energy field, be sure to take your awareness to the back of the rib cage. And see if that can be included in your breath too. All at the level of the solar plexus. And you might find yourself again touching into that stillness. Just allow it to be. When you're ready, allow your attention to gently move upward to your heart center. Again, holding all your attention in this location and breathing to the back of the heart to include it. And if you happen to feel contraction instead of expansion, understand that expansion and contraction are two sides of the same coin, and they're both a heart. Just allow it to be. No struggle is required. And that expansion and contraction is not necessarily personal. And again, you may notice the stillness. See if you can release yourself into it. And when you're ready, gently allow your attention to come up to your throat center. You can swallow to release anything there. And be sure to feel into the back of your neck and allow that to participate. You may naturally find your energy rising to the third eye behind and between your eyebrows in the center of your head. Breathe into that space. And just be curious. Allow yourself to experience whatever's there or not. And you may feel a natural opening above the third eye as the energy comes out the top of your head into a huge flower, the 1,000-petal lotus. And then it goes to a point above your head. 6 or 8 inches. And there it spreads out in 360 degrees. And there's like a fountain pouring over your entire body. Gathering underneath and coming up your central channel. And if for you it feels like it goes the opposite direction, that's fine. It does. It goes in both directions at the same time. But it's complexity we don't need at this moment. Just feel for the flow. And there's no way to do this wrong. You just experience what you experience. And see if you can allow yourself to experience this flow as the dominating part of your attention. You can actually release yourself into this flow and still be aware of your body at the same time. It just becomes much less of a focus. And now holding your attention exactly where it is. Slowly begin to open your eyes without changing your focus of awareness. And see if you can be two places at once. Very slowly let the light in. And see how different this awareness is from how we usually live our lives. We welcome your questions. How may we serve today? Feel free to unmute yourselves and just ask. You know, I apologize. In these meditations, my attention gets focused inside and I don't necessarily speak very loudly. So I hope it's possible for you to hear. And please let us know if there's any difficulty.
Today we can hear you so much better. And if it's something that you all did at your end, thank you so much.
Thank you for making us aware. Hmm. You know, we commented today when we were in the Heart Center that it's possible to be in a contraction and have it not be personal. And so what we meant by that is that very often there are energies within and around us that have a lot of power. In the last few days, we've been in the field of an eclipse that has powerful feeling energy for the entire planet, feeling of contraction. And so we were noticing that that contracted feeling was there, even though the energy of our being was trying to expand. And that's what we meant by it's not personal. And very often we feel these contractions, and especially in our heart, we take it as a sign of our spiritual failure or spiritual weakness, that our heart isn't able to expand. And this is just a simple illustration of how it may have nothing to do with us. And we tend to generalize our experience and call ourselves failures more often than not. And when we're really participating and expanding our awareness, we start to learn that that sense of failure, amounts to a kind of, well, shooting ourselves in the foot in terms of spirituality, because we bring judgment into a field where it's not required or welcome. But because our entire culture is goal-oriented and constantly self-evaluating in terms of success and failure, we have these habits of what we call matrix of belief, habits of mind, where we're constantly judging our experience and ourselves based on that and rejecting ourselves. And the simple fact of rejecting ourselves is that we end up creating blocks between our perception of ourselves and the capital S self that exists deeply within us. the greatest harm that has ever been done to humanity is the sense of separation from that which is our true abiding nature, which is the capital S self, which can be called by any name from Atman to source, to God, to personal divinity, to universal divinity, to whatever name we choose to represent that which is beyond words in our experience. Because truly, it is beyond words, which is why we can only point to it. And it contains every flavor of experience. And so again, these ideas of good and bad and success and failures and every kind of polarity that we can think of just fall out in the face of our deepest self. And none of that has any relevance to what we're trying to do. The only relevance is that it can block us because of self-judgment. And so much of spirituality, sort of falls into self-help realms very often. And those involve judgment very directly, most of them. And so it's easy to get tangled up in that. And so we're glad that came up in meditation as a demonstration of how inappropriate the judgment is in that field. Whatever we experience in meditation is just what we experience. And when we react to it with judgment, we are imposing a lot of limitation that's completely unnecessary. So it's a time when we attempt to suspend our matrix of belief. And the way we do that is to take our attention out of the space between our ears and move it around our body so that we can actually experience what our energetic field is coming from, what it feels like when it's not subject to the constant evaluation of that which happens between our ears. We are so much more than that space. So we'll stop talking for a minute and see if there's anything you want to talk about.
The judgment that I have during meditation keeps coming back to not being able to concentrate. I mean, my brain just flits away and I keep having to bring it back. And it's like every half a minute, it's almost as though focusing is not something that I can do. I can bring my focus back for another minute, but it goes again. That's my judgment.
We have a practice to suggest to you, and that is when you meditate and your mind starts to wander, send it off and see if it can find the edge of awareness, where the awareness itself ends. Give it a task. And instead of trying to hold it or focus it, allow it to just go. See if you can find the ends of experience and come back and tell me about it. Just allow it to do that. Give it a task.
The image that I have is that I go on a train ride and it's leading me somewhere. It's usually benign, but like what I'm going to plant in the garden this year and what I have to get at the nursery, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing is all fine. Just let it go up here. It can go. You don't have to grab it and pull it to where you are. Just let it go. And then you can say, go exploring. And just hold your attention in various places as you focus on the awareness itself rather than the thoughts. We don't have to gather every thought and let it take our energy.
It seems that the focus goes with the thought.
That's habit. Because we've been taught our whole lives, focus, focus, focus. That is the key to learning. This is a different kind of learning. This is learning how to be rather than how to do. And there's a huge difference between being and doing. And Rebecca has enormous experience at this because she is such a doer and was so focused on doing when we met that she had to do being to be able to be with us.
Yes, that sounds familiar.
Yes. So that's how you can flip it on its head. Just start to do being. And allow the mind to dissipate. Trust me, it will not go away. I've known
Okay.
lots of, go ahead.
I was just going to say, okay, we'll see what happens at the meditation at the end of the session.
Yes, yes. We've done a lot of experimenting about letting go of mind because Rebecca's father died of Alzheimer's disease. So she's had an ongoing fear of losing her mind. So we encouraged her to lose her mind. And it's impossible.
Doesn't something go, though, over time? Because both of my parents, one died with dementia and the other died of a brain tumor that made his mind go away. So I've had the experience of our dad died young of a brain tumor. Our mom died ancient with dementia. So it was like covered the waterfront about losing your mind in various ways.
Well, we'll repeat our experience and say that a lot of the grasping of trying to hold mind creates a tremendous pressure. And it is in relaxing the mind and allowing the entrance of the flow of our own healing energy into that field rather than holding it so tightly, trying to grab those thoughts, allowing it to be permeated with space is a very, very deep relaxation and a very healing experience. Often we hold our minds so tightly that even in sleep it doesn't unwind. This is one of the plagues of Western culture, and really worldwide as it has spread. The idea that the only part of us that's important is our thoughts. And the rest is just, what we have to do maintenance on. This is entirely not true. We are a whole body, and we are a whole mind and a whole spirit and a whole emotional person, and none of these things can be separated from each other. And they all interact in a whole that can be so harmonious that it becomes unbounded. And this is not just an experience for the 1 in 3 billion. This is an experience that's available to every human being. This is why we said the greatest harm that has been done to humanity is the separation from this power. The idea that God is separate. The idea that divinity is not available to every human being. I mean, how could this possibly be? It makes no sense. It's our source. And if we were not connected to our source, we would be dead immediately. And we don't really need an interpreter. We're not an interpreter. We're just trying to get everybody empowered enough to take their own reins and really connect. And you don't exactly need us for that, except that our culture has so brainwashed us intentionally to fear our very source. Because people who are fearful can be manipulated. Fear is the easiest thing to manipulate. So if we believe that we have to have some dictator in our life to tell us what we don't know or have access to, then we're easily manipulated. That's not spiritual. That's authoritarian. Spiritual is regaining your own power.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
I think that of what I have heard has helped me immensely. My loved one is returning to his essence with a combination of Alzheimer's and physical illnesses. And he is in the present moment. The past is clear for him. Short-term memory is gone. And so he appears to have no fear, and he's just in the very moment. And that is a joy, and that's an honor. And I feel that he is returning to his essence.
Absolutely.
Beyond the 24/7 care that I provide for him,
Mhm.
I'm thinking that the best I can do is just to be with him, keep it simple, and along with him, enjoy the moment. Do you have any consult for me on that?
Yes, he's your great teacher right now. That's the state of no mind. And in being in the presence of that, you can feel the total connection to source. This is the beauty of being with people who, this is called conscious dying. And you'll notice as he gets closer and closer, the connection to the physical gets less and less. And that manifests as inability to care for oneself, which has probably been diminishing for one's physical body, which is probably been diminishing over time. And then the various mechanisms of maintaining the body begin to dissociate. You know, swallowing is where we really start to notice it the most. And then the person just goes, and it's the most beautiful thing. It's really like watching a sunrise, because what's real about us just rises up out of the body. Oof. And in him, there's no struggle. What a beautiful teacher. Does that feel right to you?
Very much so.
Mm.
Thank you.
Mm. You're so welcome. Our first experience with open-hearted mindlessness was when we met a Down syndrome person in hospital training. Rebecca's a physician. Met a Down syndrome patient, and their heart is stuck open. And the mind can't exactly focus. We'll use that word. And everyone who associates with such a human being is changed by the experience. To our great discredit as human beings in our culture, we hide these people away. Or we put them in special training programs that try to make them as much like us as possible. which exposes them to a whole world of judgment, humiliation, shame, all completely unwarranted. You know, it shows how upside down our perception of values in our culture. We need to have a bigger perspective that can contain all of it, because all parts are welcome. And when we welcome all our parts, then we begin to experience ourselves as more space, less focus. And some of it has to do with our stage of life. You know, as we age, we want that. We crave it because it comes with the understanding of what's really important about us. But it doesn't have to be just for those of us who are growing old. It will make our whole world safe to be human in. And what the awareness does is it gives us a new value system. And that value system is about what's the highest best in this moment. It's very simple. We just constantly realign ourselves with what is going to serve the highest best. It doesn't mean that we deny violence. It exists. We do not ignore it. We don't deny hatred, especially in ourselves. You know, when hatred arises in us, pretending it isn't there or squishing it down doesn't make it go away. Going toward it. Hello, hatred, you're welcome here. Tell me your story. Until we can love our own hatred into harmony. This is not the easy way. It's the simple way, but it's not easy. We welcome our own violence to ourselves. We examine it, we work with it. Eventually, we play with that energy until we can be harmonious with it. We deny nothing. And the longer we practice, the more we seek out our own internal challenges so that we can become more whole, have less self-rejection. Because we understand that in the small self-rejections, we are rejecting the capital S self. How may we serve further? Yes.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, it's been kind of a struggle though with this eclipse time, and I just want to thank you for all we've spoken into here because it's just hitting home in a big way and a big reminder again. I just thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Well, we've been experiencing it too. I mean,
Yeah.
day before yesterday was one of the most intense. Maybe it was the day before that. I think it was the
Yeah.
day before the eclipse. It was so hard to breathe.
Yeah. Very sticky.
Yeah, hard to breathe and hard to stay positive.
Yeah.
It's just like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But knowing that we don't have to take it personally,
Oh, that's huge.
best to just, zipper it. That helps a lot because,
Yeah.
it you're doing damage control on the front side.
Well, and to be reminded of all that we've been talking about and to be in touch, seek it out. Hello, the hatred or the fear or whatever, the self denial, all of that it's I don't want it to be such a hard job, but it tends to be but it's an education. I mean, we're learning here. We're learning here.
Yes. One of the things that we find really helpful is to view fear as false evidence appearing real.
Ah, yes.
Seeing the
Good,
stick
that
as a
one.
snake.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice to see you all.
Yeah, it's so nice to be here.
Yeah.
Anybody? You can type questions into the chat too if you want to be anonymous. We don't care. I typed that in. You did? Okay. Brenda tells me I got it wrong, but she typed it in the right way. Okay. So Rebecca's a little bit tired today because there's an astrology conference in London that is, today's the next to last day, but it starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in London, which is 5 o'clock here in the morning. So she's been up for a while today already. But some of the great minds of astrology lecturing, it's really quite amazing. You know, somebody asked us about resistance some time ago. Resistance being that within us that keeps us from cultivating our own highest best. And it's really pretty simple that one has to get to the point where it's understood that the only solution is to move forward. And until that's really understood, that nothing's going to happen until you put one foot ahead of the other, then nothing will happen. And so you know, we think it's a simple shift, but sometimes it takes a long time. We'll give you an example. Fortunately, decades ago, Rebecca was trying to quit smoking. She'd been smoking for a number of years. And she would always get to a certain point. It would get longer and longer, but there was a certain place where she just couldn't understand it anymore. And so would have that cigarette, and then it would be off to the races again. And then building the momentum to try again. And this went on for nearly 2 years. And finally, one day it dawned, this problem is not going to go away until I actually stop smoking. And don't smoke anymore, no matter what. But it took that long for the physiology to catch up with the mental desire. They just couldn't get aligned. And it was before the awareness of highest best. You know, focusing on the highest best can get those two things aligned a lot quicker. But there's a certain, you know, element of trial and error at the beginning when you're trying to get yourself going in a better direction that, you know, involves a lot of self-punishment, which is also very destructive and makes it take longer and longer and longer. But it's the same process. It just, you get faster at it as you do it longer. But you know, we use our experience to speak to you because she's had a lot of it. And we begin to understand that we can be seen by everybody we meet. There is nothing that's secret. You know, we think that our physical persona protects our mind and emotions from being perceived. And to a certain extent, that's true because the people who truly can perceive are beyond caring about what they perceive, beyond judging about it, not caring about it. Compassion. Compassion arises from addressing so many of our own foibles over time that we know what it takes to make a change. Because we've done it. And, you know, having done it, the more times you do something, the more expert you become at it. And so most of us are at an age where we have a lot of expertise. And that's why we're here, because we have already learned that learning is about failure. What we perceive to be as failure. And that as we learn and grow, we get less afraid of failing because we've done it so many times before in our own judgment. And then we realize that it's the judgment itself that is one of the obstructors, one of the main obstructors in our inner progress. And because we feel like if we don't judge ourselves, then we're just going to turn to moral mush. That it's that judgment that creates moral fiber. Not true. When we let go of the judgment, compassion arises. If we can't be compassionate for ourselves, we can't do it for anybody else. Same with love. If we can't love ourselves, we can't love anybody else. We can learn from other people, but love is something that we really have to literally take to heart. We have to love ourselves enough to stop judging. That song is right. Give peace a chance. That's what happens when we stop judging. We can't have external peace until we have internal peace. And as we attempt to create internal peace, we realize how hard it is. Because we have to let go of judgment. We have to at least experiment with the idea that we won't immediately become morally flabby and lose our ground. What really happens is that our mind becomes free to be curious rather than holding ourselves to rigid rules. We can be curious about what's real and what might be more efficient as a way of not blocking ourselves from that reality which is trying to inform us about what we're made of. So as we allow a little curiosity in and the judgment to fade, a big change can really happen. When we feel that judgment, we shift it to curiosity about, what if I just let go? You know, we were handed a matrix of belief without our permission or our engagement or any discussion. We landed on this planet, and all the people around us informed us of what they considered to be the truth. And we had no alternative but to accept it. Now we have a chance to examine it and see if we really believe it or if it's true. And curiosity can take us everywhere. And our matrix of belief that we've been handed to, that was handed to us, was based on people trying to do their best for us. They weren't trying to harm us for the most part. That was an accident. Their intentions were good for the most part. They were doing their best. But we are fortunate to have the opportunity to re-examine what we've been given. And we no longer have to be separated from our own source. That's the bottom line. But it begins with being curious about our self-rejection. Am I right in slamming myself for what I just said? Why am I doing that? Even if I said the exact wrong thing, the person in front of me is going to allow me to apologize when I understand what I've done. We hope. And generally, when we're honest, there's a lot of room. We welcome your questions. Wow, time flies. How did that happen? So unless somebody has a final question, we'll go into meditation again. So this time we're going to invite you to do whatever practice appeals to you. And we will be here with you. And let's go into meditation. Thank you so much for being here today. It's really a gift to be with you. Till next time, Wednesday night and Sunday. Bye for now.